Hey Summoners, welcome to another ProGuides video. My name is Nathan Ng, and in this video, we're going to be covering the 3 steps that helped one of our analysts here get from Bronze to Challenger. It's a time-consuming process for sure, so I hope that you guys know that at the end of the day, it's going to be hard work that determines whether or not you can successfully climb. For our question of the day, what are your goals with League of Legends? I'm hoping to eventually voice one of the characters in League of Legends because, we have Dan here and he's just way cooler than me. Anyway. Step number 1, get ProGuides. I'm serious, ProGuides is such a useful tool, but with ProGuides, you won't get ganked in your own lane, you won't get constantly demolished, and it's because we got you covered. ProGuides is the #1 proven way to quickly help you level up your League of Legends skills. Whether you're looking for tier lists, champion guides, coaching, or courses from your favorite pro players, ProGuides is where you'll find them. Even players like Nightblue, Bunny Fufu, and Loco Doco support ProGuides. So, what are you waiting for? Click the link and start improving right now. Let's get started with the video. I think the most important thing in any pursuit you have in life is to try and improve. You want to grow and be better than you were the day before. Continue building on that foundation. Getting just a little better every day can mean that you could get a little better 365 times a year. Or in this case, 366 times a year, because in 2020, it's a leap year. And kind of like a leap, we'll just jump into the reason why this is one of the most important steps. Every game you play and every game you watch, try to learn something new or practice something that you can work on. Whether it's normal games or ranked, it doesn't really matter. You can always find something to learn. When you're playing with your friends that are worse than you, test your limits to see how far you can really go. Can you 1v5 team fights after getting fed? Can you 1v5 them without being fed? Learn what the champion you're playing is capable of, and always use every game as a chance to practice your mechanics a little bit. I can count the number of times I've died playing too aggressively in normal games, and that's fine. Normal games are a pressure-free opportunity to push yourself and try new things that you normally wouldn't. A lot of us are too scared to go nuts in ranked games because some stuff would be considered crazy or unintelligent. By practicing these kinds of plays in normal games or ARAMs, we develop a better understanding of what we and our champions are capable of. Once we run into opportunities to do or die in real games, all we can draw upon is experience. I play a lot of normal games with my friends, and this is my excuse every time I quote-unquote limit test. A lot of the time, you'll need to watch your games again. It's hard to remember every detail of the game even when we try our best. Whether it's watching our own, streamers, or even professional players' games, try to learn something. Especially with ourselves, it's okay to ask if whatever course of action was taken was the best one. The more questions you ask and the more answers you can find in those questions, the more knowledgeable you become. Knowledge and decision making determines the best majority of the results in this game. With excellent decision making, you can always play an easier champion to proceed to climb. On the other hand, being a mechanical animal doesn't guarantee that you'll climb if you don't know what you're doing following the insane leads you build. Watching games can just be as important as playing the game. However, I'm going to go ahead and say that there's not a one-size-fits-all balance of this. Everyone's a little bit different. If you find that you're watching more than you play and it works, great. If you find that you're watching a lot but not improving, maybe you need to play the game more to practice things like in the decision moment making, keeping your cool, or even your mechanics. Not trying to sound like a hypocrite here, but mechanics are still important. Just because knowledge is more important doesn't mean that mechanics aren't important at all. Know the difference. Everyone has different things that they need to work on. Mechanics can't be taught, they can only be practiced. Macro play can be taught and be learned anywhere, whether it's your friend who's a nerd about the game or just some content on YouTube like you're watching right now. If you want my suggestion, I'd highly suggest you check out this really cool YouTube channel called ProGuides Challenger League of Legends Guides. They've got everything, videos on macro play, champion tier list, and tips to help you improve so you don't get ganked in your own lane and constantly demolished. For most players, the game doesn't magically make sense to them. There's no sudden revelation where they rise to god status and dethrone Faker. Instead, it's a process. You need to take your time, learn little by little, and gradually improve. One way that we highly suggest accomplishing this is by watching pro players in their professional matches, watching them when they stream, or looking at their solo queue game replays. Thankfully, we're in a day and age where you can literally go to their profile on the client, search up the profile, and download the replays to watch. This is a luxury that wasn't available during the early stages of League's existence, so seriously, count your blessings. There are a vast multitude of resources that you can access, so take advantage of this. While you're watching better players, continue to question why they do certain things. What's optimal about what they're doing? Did they make a mistake and you notice something go wrong? Sometimes the answer is yes, but other times it's no. If you're watching a stream, that's awesome because they'll often talk about what they're thinking or at least about what went wrong. Personally, the analyst never watched too many streams, but he has watched a lot of solo queue replays off of YouTube. He watched the best players and copied what they did. Sometimes he didn't understand why he was doing something they did, but even then it worked. Ideally though, you want to know why you're doing something because it might not be right to do in every single situation. Be a sponge and absorb as much information as you can from better players. They've done a lot to get to where they are and you can quickly learn from them since they've laid the foundation for the rest of us. Admittedly, the next step is what worked for me, and I don't know if this will apply to everyone. Mindset is what I believe helped me climb my ladder, as well as help the analysts hit Challenger. For others, it might just be improving enough, developing enough mechanics, or perhaps even grinding enough games to hit it. I also believe that there are many different mindsets that can lead to the same goal of climbing and hitting your gold ranks. First, I'm going to talk about stuff that I think can work for most people, and then I'm talking about what works for me personally, which is, spoiler alert, boba, and then what worked for our analyst. No matter what, you need to think about improving every game. No matter what your teammates are doing or whatever your circumstances are, you need to continue growing and progressing forward. Positive trajectory in your improvement as a player is what you want, no matter how slow or how quick it is. Seek to improve yourself after every single game. I think that this general mindset comes in many different forms. Understanding objectives versus results-based thinking, blaming yourself rather than your teammates, or even thinking that all your teammates are trash and that you need to play out of your mind every single game to 1v9 all have the same thing in mind. You're trying to get better. Now let me run you through what worked for the analyst. I don't think that this mindset will work for everyone, perhaps based on personality or maybe even the lack of patience. Eventually, he hit a mental wall and he had 2 hurdles he had to pass. One is an easy one to explain because we have a term for it, victim mentality. Whenever he got camped, he would tell himself stuff like, I'm only getting camped because I'm playing better than my direct opponent. Or, it's another one of those games, huh? Somehow, every game was in some way not his fault. Whether he could pin the blame on a specific teammate or indirectly deflect it by calling it an unlucky game, he was a victim of some consequence that was out of his control. Sometimes he would play an impossible matchup against an OP champion and comment to himself, that champion is dumb and there's nothing I could have done. After being hard stuck for a while, he definitely had to do some deep self-reflection to understand what he was doing wrong. Objectively, he might have been right, but recognizing that he was right about something didn't do him any good. What does being right about something in the game do for you anyway? Darius is OP and I know that because statistics say so. Great, am I suddenly a better player for saying and knowing that? I don't know about that because he keeps dying in our opening clip. At the end of the day, absolutely not. He could ban a champion he absolutely hates playing against, but what if he played against another OP pick? He couldn't just keep making excuses for himself if he wanted to win. Rather than blaming the circumstances, in other words the fact that the game wasn't balanced, he only came to improve when he accepted the fact that he stopped caring about it. Yes, the game might not be balanced, but complaining about it won't help him improve. He had to learn how to play around it and understand what he was doing wrong. Even if there weren't many ways to beat the things that were OP, there are ways to still make them feel less oppressive. Once I stopped blaming the circumstances of the game that were out of my control and kept trying to improve instead, he managed to hit Challenger. The other mental block he faced was telling himself that he wasn't good enough. When he hit Diamond 1, that final hurdle to Master Tier felt like he had to climb the Great Wall of China. A lot of people on the internet talk about how the difference between a Diamond and Challenger player is bigger than the gap between a Bronze and a Platinum player. While he couldn't really gauge whether or not that was true, since it's hard to accurately quantify skill in numbers, he can definitely say it felt that way to him. The players he had to beat were simply so much better than him, and it hurt him. It crushed him, honestly. Admittedly, the person, actually animal, that got him through this challenge was Jake the dog from Adventure Time. Paraphrasing what he said, you gotta be stuck in something before you get good. This hit him and he finally took the steps he needed to. He lost a lot. He got crushed, but that was okay. It was part of the process. Every defeat taught him something or reminded him of what he needed to improve still. He is not a one trick. It's not how he likes to play the game. He doesn't play a lot of champions either, but he doesn't play one exclusively. No matter what though, he thinks that to make that final push for higher ELO, you need to become a master of whatever champion you choose to play, whether it's 1 or 5 of them. You don't have to one-trick a champion to master them. By mastering them, it means that you have level 7 mastery and you can flash that every time you're trying to BM your opponent. I mean, you need to understand what you're capable of and you need to be comfortable with all that champion's mechanics, which hopefully you will be by Mastery 7. Missing an ability because you're not used to how quickly it moves or not being comfortable with the general gameplay of that champions is a bad sign. The champions you choose to play should be the ones that you don't have to think about things. If you're playing Rumble, you shouldn't have to meticulously think about your heat. That should be second nature to you. When you play Vayne, you should instinctively know how to mix up your opponent with your ultimate, and using an E-Flash combo should be something that you never mess up. Instead, because you're so comfortable in this champion and know enough about them, you should be focusing primarily on macro play. Not only should you be thinking about what to do as your next action, you should also have enough leeway to think about the consequences of the actions you're about to take. You want to have enough mental freedom to be able to think 2 or 3 steps ahead, is what I'm saying. The only exception is that if you try to learn a champion, in which case it's more understandable to focus on their specific mechanics. By mastering a champion to this extent, you can also focus on learning your matchups. You aren't thinking about what abilities you need to land, instead you're focusing on the many micro details. Roughly, how many minions of Elite do I need to turn this fight around? If they make a specific mistake, can I all-in them and punish them for it? Or where do I want the wave to be at a specific time and level? These are things that you want to be thinking about with your matchup, and this can only happen if you've mastered your champion. And that's going to wrap this video up. I hope that you guys found it helpful. Please feel free to leave any comments, feedback down below, or just let me know what you liked about it, because all of us that work on these videos appreciate it too. Check out ProGuides.com as well as our YouTube channel, as both of them are constantly getting updated with new content. Again, my name is Nathan Ng, and my IGN on League of Legends is N8DGR8. I haven't been able to play a lot this week because it's been a pretty tough week, and I'm so glad that I have a great support system. And if you guys don't have a great support system and you guys are going through some things, feel free to reach out to me at Nathan_ING on Instagram, and I'll be sure to be there for you guys. Thank you so much for being a part of this community, and we love you guys. So see you on the Rift and in the comment section down below.